years, and our work to provide our service members, their families, and the department's civilian workforce the tools, support, and the resources that they need to do their jobs. Today, we will hear from survivors and from survivor advocates on their experiences with the military justice system, from the Government Accountability Office on the many changes in laws regarding sexual assault in the military, and from outside experts on the effects or lack thereof those changes have had on reducing sexual assault within its ranks. The first panel of witnesses include Ms. Natalie Quam, the founder and president of Whistleblower Law Firm, Ms. Amy Braley-Frank, the founder of Never Alone, Ms. Amy Marsh, a survivor of sexual assault and advocate, and Mr. Quinton McNair, a survivor advocate who retired from the Army after 24 years of service as a senior drill sergeant and sexual assault response coordinator. The second panel will have Ms. Brenda Farrell, Director, DoD, Strategic Human Capital Management, Government Accountability Office. And the third panel will have Mr. Eugene Fidel, Senior Research Scholar at Yale Law School and Adjunct Professor of Law at New York University Law School, retired Colonel Don Christensen, United States Air Force and President of Protect Our Defenders, and retired Colonel Lawrence J. Morris, United States Army Chief of Staff and Counselor to the President, Catholic University of America. The subcommittee will also receive statements from other survivors and survivor advocates who, unfortunately, given the time and space constraints of this hearing, weren't able to be accommodated. Without objection, we will include all of their statements in the record. There's an epidemic of sexual assault in the military. The DoD's most recent survey estimated that almost 21,000 service members were sexually assaulted in 2018. That makes them more likely to be raped by their fellow service members than shot by the enemy in war. Since 2013, unrestricted reports of sexual assault in the military have doubled, yet the rate of prosecution and conviction has halved. The assailant was often someone in the survivor's chain of command, the same chain of command responsible for deciding the case. These commanders are not lawyers. They are not delivering justice, and they are not doing enough to help survivors. 2 in 3 survivors who report crime experience retaliation or ostracism, like Amy Marsh, who you will hear from today. Last month, following the tragic death of Specialist Vanessa Guillen, the Fort Hood Independent Review reported that the command climates surrounding sexual assault response and prevention programs were so ineffective that the world's largest Army base was, quote, a permissive environment for sexual assault and sexual harassment. We must do better for the people who sacrifice so much for our country. I first introduced the Military Justice Improvement Act in 2013 with the goal of professionalizing the way the military prosecutes rape, sexual misconduct, and other complex crimes. Every year since, military leadership has come before us and said that the chain of command would solve this problem. They're not solving the problem. They have failed. The statistics on sexual assault that the DoD has been reporting since 2006 make it plain. There has been no progress made over the past 15 years. We have given the military enough time and enough resources to fix this problem. Congress has given the military more than $1 billion, $500 million in fiscal year 2019 alone, enacted 249 legislative provisions, and chartered special panels, commissions, and advisory committees to address this problem. Not one of these steps has reduced sexual assault within the ranks. We are right where we were when we started. Nothing has changed. Nearly every Secretary of Defense since Dick Cheney has promised this country and the service members who serve us zero tolerance for sexual assault. Every general or commander that has come in front of this body for the past 10 years has told us, we've got this, ma'am, we've got this. Well, the truth is they don't have it. The military justice system simply is in the wrong hands. The Military Justice Improvement Act would put these serious criminal cases in the hands of senior, experienced military prosecutors. It would eliminate command bias and create a fair, impartial system. It is our duty to our service members to solve this problem. I invite my colleagues to recognize the lack of progress made over the past 10 years and to support our effort to rethink this system and professionalize the way the military handles these cases. I would look forward to working with you, Senator Tillis, to finally take the necessary steps to address this scourge on our military. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gillbrand, and to I was going to call you Coach, but I guess I should call you Senator WWll. Welcome to the subcommittee. Senator Gillbrand, I want to thank you for holding the hearing, and I truly admire your unwavering dedication to addressing sexual assault. I agree with you that sexual assault has no place in the military, but I believe we can't just stop there. It has no place in our society. While today's hearing is about focusing on our military, it's important to remember that this is not just a Department of Defense problem. If it's an epidemic in the Department of Defense, then it's even more so in our society. If we're to have any hope of fixing the issue for our military, we need to tackle this issue more broadly. Each year, about 180,000 young Americans enlist for active duty service in the armed forces. Statistics show that sexual assaults are most prevalent among our youngest service members, those who are newest to the military, generally ages 18 to 24. In comparison to similarly aged college and non-college students, the rate of sexual assault is lower in the military. The rate of reporting a sexual assault is higher in the military, and the rate of sexual assault prosecutions is higher. In fact, colleges and universities, I was at a gathering in Annapolis a year or so ago, are coming to the Department of Defense and asking, help us, show us how we can start fixing this problem. Now, preliminary data from the GAO study due later this year shows that between 2004 and 2019, Congress has enacted 249 legislative proposals concerning sexual assault in the military. But the reality is, only about 9% of them have anything to do with prevention. So I hope as we move forward this process that we spend more time on the subject of prevention. Senator Gillbrand, I'd ask unanimous consent that my full statement be put into the record. But you and I had a great conversation about 2 weeks ago. And I've also had conversation with current service line secretaries, and I've been here for going on 6.5 years. I've spoken to those service secretaries and commanders under the Obama administration as you were making proposals. That's what I'm saying. You're after it. You're staying after it, and I admire you for it. They expressed concerns. Under the Trump administration, they expressed concerns with removing it from the command. And more recently, under the Biden administration, they've expressed concerns. I told the service secretaries in the most recent conversations about a month ago that you need to come with a credible proposal, because in the wake of the Fort Hood incidents, there are members that are beginning to wonder whether or not we should keep the current structure. Senator Gillbrand, you and I didn't have an opportunity to talk about the data. I'm a data person. And I'm trying to figure out, it seems like sometimes in our hearings, we hear different views on different sets of data. But I think one of the things that we have to do, when I hear that the conviction rate is lower. I hear that. On the other hand, I hear DAC and IPAD say that the number of prosecutions are higher, the conviction rate's lower. So it seems like under the current structure, one argument against moving it from the command is that more go to court-martial than the DAC IPAD would expect. And if you've got more going through prosecution, then you would naturally expect that maybe the conviction rate or the acquittal rate would be higher. So I hope that as we hear the witnesses today, understand that it disgusts me. So much so that 2 years ago we do our nominations process for Service Academy nominees. About 2 years ago, I said, inspired in part by the concerns that you've raised, that I want this is a joyous occasion. These are young men and women who want to go to the service academies. You would generally want it to be a joyous occasion, hand them off a certificate and say, we're going to work hard to get you appointed. I have to dedicate about 10 minutes of that segment now, at my request, to talk about sexual assault and to make all those young people who are about to go into the academy understand that I'm watching them and I have high expectations. It's a shame that an otherwise joyous ceremony with these young men and women and their parents has to resort to that, but that's another step towards prevention. I want to make progress, but I want it to be something that's not the 227th bill that's gone through Congress on prosecution that doesn't ultimately address prevention. I want it to be something that we feel like can be implemented and bring as many people to justice as possible who are guilty or at least accused of being responsible for sexual assault. So I look forward to working with you. I want to take all of this data because as I do my homework, I hear people, it's like you've got the debaters in separate rooms and not coming together to make sure that whatever policy we move forward with is actually driven towards holding more people accountable, but also hope that we have a treatment for more meaningful prevention efforts and also after an assault care. So thank you for holding this hearing, and without objection, I'd like to submit my formal statement for the record.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ranking Member. And I would just respond with 2 points. The reason why I think this legislative idea is so important is because a lot of rapists and sexual assaulters are recidivists. So if you want to prevent more sexual assault, put more recidivists in jail. So it is a measure of prevention. And 2, because I found that a lot of unfortunately, people mislead on this topic. The conviction of any, the rate of conviction since 2010, I'm going to read it off, going year by year from 2010 to 2019. Rate of conviction in 2010 was 24%, 2011, 13%, 2012, 14%, 17%, 16%, 15%, 9%, 8%, 7%. We are at 7%. Raw numbers, in 2019, we convicted 264 cases. In 2014, we convicted 433 cases. So these numbers really aren't going in the right direction, and so I wouldn't want you to be misled by any data that's incorrect.
And I'm stipulating what I'm trying to do is figure out maybe people are talking past the numbers to numbers that are more favorable or less favorable. What I'm hoping to get to is something that as we pass these bills, we can actually start measuring on a consistent basis the progress that we're making. We're not making progress, but I just also want to say, I heard you say that it's an epidemic in the military. But it's fair to say with the same cohorts in society, it's even worse than that. I don't know what you call beyond an epidemic, but I don't want the young men and women who are considering going into the military to think it's a more dangerous environment, say the service academies, than what they're going to find in any fine institution across this country. I think it's very important to point that out. It's not unique to our men and women in military, and it's even worse for their cohorts in private institutions.
Thank you. I'd now like to turn to the first panel.